So, speaking about a god or a deity, in this book called Native American Gardening Stories, Projects, and Recipes for Families by Michael J. Caduto and Joseph Bruchak, it says Wakanda, Wakanda, Arikara from the Arikara tribe, which means the great mystery, the creator. Again, the creator or god or a deity, the creator, Wakanda. Alright, so before we get into the whole name of Wakanda and the location and everything, let's talk about Wakanda and Marvel. So it says, Wakanda is a fictional African nation appearing in American comic books, published by Marvel Comics. It is the most prominent of several native African nations and home to the superhero Black Panther. Wakanda first appeared in Fantastic Four, issue number 52, July 1966. Remember that, July 1966. And was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Hijacker. And again, it says fictional African. So it doesn't exist in Africa. It's a fictional place in Africa because it's not from Africa.
Man, Past and Present by A.H. Keane and A. Hingston Quiggin, A.C. Haddon. It says here, religious conceptions were based on a belief in Wakanda, or Manito, an all-pervading spirit force. A spirit force, Wakanda, supernatural, right? Supernatural, whose cult involved various shamanistic ceremonials consisting of dancing, chanting, feasting, and fasting. You hear this? Most distinctive of these is the sun dance, practiced by almost all the tribes of the plains except the Comanche. It is an annual festival lasting several days in honor of the sun for the purpose of obtaining abundant produce throughout the year. In the small print here it says, Wakanda is the term employed when the power believed to animate all natural forms is spoken to or spoken of in supplications or rituals. Again, supernatural, superpowers, magic, shaman. By many tribes of the Sioux family of the Sioux. Manito is the Algonquin name for the mysterious and unknown potencies and powers of life and of the universe. Wakanda, says Miss Fletcher, is difficult to define, for exact terms change it from its native, uncrystallized condition to something foreign to aboriginal dot. Wakanda is an aboriginal dot. You hear that? Vague as the concept seems to be to one of another race, to the Indian it is as real and as mysterious as starry night or the flush of the coming day. Handbook of American Indians. And in the same book, I just wanted to let you know who we were talking about mostly in this book, and it's the Dakota. It says here the Dakota or the Sioux are universally conceded to be of the highest type, physically, mentally, and probably morally, of any of the western tribes. Their bravery has never been questioned by white or Indian, and they conquered or drove out every rival except the Ojibwe. So they were very warlike, right? Warriors. Their physical characteristics are as follows. Dark skin. Again, the Dakota's physical characteristics are as follows. Dark skin. Again, Black Panther. We're talking about the Americas. Jaguar. Warriors. Wakanda. Dark skin faintly tinged with red. Copper-colored tribes found here by the Europeans, right? Facial features more strongly marked than those of the Pacific Coast Indians. Nose and lower jaw particularly prominent and heavy. Head generally mesocephalic and not artificially deformed. They are free and dominant race of hunters and warriors, necessarily strong and active. Their weapons of stone, wood, bone, and horn are tomahawk, club, flint, knife, and bow and arrow. Now returning to the fictional Wakanda, right? In Wikipedia says the etymology. There are several theories for the Wakanda name. The name may be inspired by a god called Waconda. So we just heard, right? Wakanda, Arikara called it's the creator, which is God. And also the Dakota also see Wakanda as basically God as well. And we're going to read a little bit more about that later. So again, this is inspired by a god called Wakanda from the Native Americans from the Great Plains, right? We know that's true. Or Wakanda's a fictional African tribe, right? So which one do you think it's from? The real history or from the fictional history?
The Sacred Wisdom of the Native American by Larry J. Zimmerman. It says here, the rite of the Omaha included most of these elements. It was a 4-day fasting rite undergone by all Omaha adolescent males, fasting, and by any females who so desired. The name refers to the trance experienced by the youths in the course of the rite. In it, they became oblivious to the outside world and conscious only of the inner being. The rite recreated the Omaha origin myth. The origin myth, right? The boy would find an isolated spot where he would spread clay over his head in honor of the animals who went to the bottom of a great body of water and brought up mud from which earth was created. Alright, so remember in Wakanda, when he drank the herb, he had to lay down and get covered by the sand or that dirt, whatever it was. And as this ritual they do here, the Omaha, recreating the Omaha origin, just like Wakanda is recreating what happened in the beginning with Shinga, right, when he first took the vibranium, when the meteor fell and the Panther showed him the herb. They recreated to become the Black Panther, just like they do here. And the adolescents, males, right? They go into this trance, right? Just like in Wakanda, he goes into a trance. And it says here that he prayed to Wakanda, the mysterious power that controlled all of nature. So this Omaha tradition says that the young boys, when they're in this trance, they would pray to Wakanda, the mysterious power that controlled all of nature. The boy filled his mind with thoughts of health, successful hunting and war, and a happy long life, but it was taboo to ask for special favors. Wakanda, it was believed, would respond with a vision or a dream that would include a sacred song. So Wakanda, right, responded with a vision, just like when T'Challa goes into the trance, he has a vision, right? He's with his elders, right? So it says that Wakanda here would respond with a vision or a dream that would include a sacred song. Dreams of hawks, elks, or thunder might bring great fortune. The sun was a good luck charm connecting the boy to the powers of the universe. He could use it throughout his lifetime as a way to call for help from guardian spirits in time of crisis. Right? So he can call help from guardian spirits, as Wakanda told him. These superpowers. The Native American Book of Knowledge, Easy Read Edition by White Deer of Autumn. Says, in the real beginning, Wakanda made the people, men, women, and children. After they were made, Wakanda said, go. So the people took all they had, carried their children, and started toward the setting sun. From an Omaha Indian creation account. Again, Wakanda. Historical Dictionary of Native American Movements by Todd Leahy, Nathan Wilson. Wakanda. Wakanda is the Lakota belief similar to the Iroquois Orenda and the Algonquin Manitou. It is a supernatural force that permeates the universe. Again, supernatural, a deity, a god, right? Supernatural, Wakanda. Just like Marvel, superheroes have supernatural powers.
Wakanda, Waconda, a term employed by the Omaha, Ponca, Osage, Quapaw, Kansas, Otto, Missouri, and Iowa. Awa, tribes of the Sioux family. When the power believed to animate all natural forms is spoken to or spoken of in supplications or rituals, the dialects of the first five tribes are closely related. The Omaha and Ponca speak practically alike. The Osage, the Quapaw, and Kansas differ somewhat from the former in pronunciation, while the Otto, Missouri, and Iowa have so far changed their speech as to be unintelligible to the others. The word Wakanda, spelled Wakanda by Riggs in his Dakota dictionary, is given by him as a verb signifying to reckon as holy or sacred, to worship. Alright, so again, Wakanda can mean in Dakota dictionary as sacred or to worship or holy. We're gonna hear about the Huacas of Peru, South America, and how they are considered sacred monuments, rocks, even pyramids or places. Waca, Wakanda. Continuing, it says the noun is Wakan and is defined as a spirit, something consecrated. So Wakan, Waka, Wakan, Waka. Again, defined as a spirit, something consecrated. The same authority gives the meaning of Wakan as an adjective as spiritual, sacred, consecrated, wonderful, incomprehensible, mysterious. Or in other words, supernatural, deity.
Offensive or not, Black Panther, fictional Wakanda, translates as God to some tribes. But what do the members of the Osage Nation say regarding this? According to Shannon Shaw Doody, a member of the Osage Nation and editor of the Osage News, the Marvel spelling is different, but the pronunciation is the same. I have not yet seen the film, but I have read some reviews in that they spell it Wakanda. In our Osage language, the word for God is Wakonta or Wakonda. I have been told how they pronounce it in the film is exactly how we pronounce it. So in essence, it is the same word, said Sean Doody. Native American Mythology by Hartley Burr Alexander. Visible nature seems to have mirrored to the Omaha mind the ever-present activities of the invisible and mysterious Wakanda, and to have been an instructor in both religion and ethics. Natural phenomena serve to enforce ethics. Old men have said Wakanda causes day to follow night without variation and summer to follow winter. We can depend on these regular changes and can order our lives by them. In this way, Wakanda teaches us that our words and our acts must be truthful, so that we may live in peace and happiness with one another. Our fathers thought about these things and observed the acts of Wakanda, and their words have come down to us. All experiences in life were believed to be directed by Wakanda, a belief that gave rise to a kind of fatalism. In the face of calamity, the thought, this is ordered by Wakanda, put a stop to any form of rebellion against the trouble and often to any effort to overcome it. An old man said, tears were made by Wakanda as a relief to our human nature. Wakanda made joy, and he also made tears. An aged man standing in the presence of death said, from my earliest years I remember the sound of weeping. I have heard it all my life, and shall hear it until I die. There will be pardon as long as man lives on the earth. Wakanda has willed it to be so. So again, Native American legends, Wakanda, Wakanda. Tribal affiliation, the Omaha, the Ponca, and the Osage. We saw the other ones also as well who were affiliated with Wakanda. The alternate spellings, Wakanda, Wakonta, Wakuda, Wakonda, or Wakonta. In pronunciation, Wakanda, just like in the movie. Alright, it says here Native American creator, deity, right? Supernatural, Hawa, God, high God. Related figures in other tribes, Wakan Tanka, the Sioux. Earthmaker, Ho Shunk, Kichi Manitou, Ojibwe. Wakanda is the great creator, power of the Osage, Omaha, and Ponca tribes. Wakanda is abstract, omnipresent, creative force who is never personified in traditional Siouan legends, and in fact did not even have a gender before the introduction of English with its gender-specific pronunciation. So they didn't have no idols to Wakanda, creator, omnipresent, the most high, creative force. Alright, so I just wanted to show you this from the Grammar and Dictionary of the Dakota Language collected by the members of the Dakota Mission, edited by Reverend S.R. Riggs. Alright, so this is a historical supposed interpretation of the Dakota language. And I just wanted to show you how they do use, as you can see here, highlighted under where it says Jehovah Taku Wakan. So it says Jehovah, Jehovah, Hawa, Jehovah. As you can see, they sound like they're speaking Hebrew. Right? And it says Taku Wakan, which right under it says God. So Wakan, remember? Sacred spirit, consecrated spirit, Wakan. And that is the word for God, the Dakota language, supposedly. And again, right here you see where it's right next to God, it says Wakan Tanka. Wakan Tanka. Again, in the Lakota way of life, Wakan Tanka is the term for the sacred or the divine. This is usually translated as the Great Spirit. Alright, so we're talking about the Great Spirit. You know how all the Native American tribes, they worship the Great Spirit. We're talking about the same deity, same creator, Hawa. It says, however, according to Russell Means, its meaning to closer to great mystery or supernatural, right? Omnipresent, great mystery, as Lakota spirituality is not monotheistic. Before their attempted conversion to Christianity, the Sioux used Wakan Tanka to refer to an organization of sacred entities whose ways were mysterious, thus the great mystery. So again, this is from Wikipedia, so we gotta dodge the hijack. This is Europeans' version of what they saw, or what they interpret of these tribes. So again, Wakan, Wak'a, or Huaca or Wak'a, says here in the Quechuan languages of South America, a waka or Wak'a, look how they spell it, W-A-K-A, Wak'a, is an object that represents something revered, typically a monument of some kind. The term waka can refer to natural locations, such as immense rocks. Some wakas have been associated with veneration and ritual. The Quechua people traditionally believed every object has a physical presence and two Kamaken spirits, one to create it and another to animate it. They would invoke its spirits for the object to function. So Wak'a, a revered place or sacred place, right? But they perform rituals. Wak'a, Wakan, Waca de Luna. The Waca de Luna or Temple of the Moon was part of the ancient Moshe capital. In Moshe, right, we get the Mexica, right, Moshe, and we get also Hebrew way of saying Moses, Moshe, Moshe, Meshi, Mexica. It was constructed in northern Peru between the 1st and 8th centuries, using millions of adobe blocks. The Moshe civilization developed great religious complexes, or wakas, formed by successive entombments of older structures, filled in and covered with mud, brick, or adobe. Alright, again, so the Moshe considered wakas religious complexes. Again, sacred places, just like Wakan. Again, Waka, also spelled Waka, Quechua, sacredness, or equal holiness. Again, Waka, Waka, Waka is the same. Wakan, sacredness, holiness, just like Wakan, Wakantanka, Wakanda. Same people. Ancient Inca and modern Quechua and Aymara religious concept that is variously used to refer to sacred ritual, the state of being after death, or any sacred object. The Spanish conquistador Pedro de Cieza de León believed that the word meant burial place. Waka also means spirits that either inhabit or actually are physical phenomena such as waterfalls, mountains, or man-made shrines. The aforementioned shrines, which are found throughout the Inca territory from Ecuador to Chile, may be as simple as stone piles piled in a field, apachitas, or as complex as stepped pyramids that were once topped with canopies and carved images. So these wakas can be stepped pyramids, right? Sacred religious complexes are also pyramids, wakas, wakan. So how many sacred places or wakas do we have throughout the Americas, right? So it's not just confined to one location, Wakanda or Wakas or the Wakan, the Great Spirit, sacred place. And one more thing about the Wakas of Peru. It says here in La República, a Peruvian online newspaper. I don't know if it's printed in paper too, but it says, in their interior environments, they're talking about the Waca of La Luna. Archaeologists found a 2-meter long wall where you can see the image of 4 jaguars that seem to parade through the interior of the ancient Moshe temple. So look at that correlation with jaguars in this Waka jaguars. All right, 3,500-year-old friezes discovered at Huaca Garagay in Lima, Peru. So in this other Waca in Lima, Peru, they found some sculptures on the wall here buried on this Waka, this temple, right? This Waka is supposedly 3,500 years old, and these friezes, as they call them, are carved on a balustered column placed at the Waka ceremonial courtyard. But I saw also a video of this excavation of this Waka, and it says that the sculptures here are actually human anthropomorphic felines, or a human, half feline, or half panther, half jaguar, right? Just like Wakanda, all right? So in this Waka, we have another correlation to feline and humans. And this is in Peru. So we just learned about Waka, right? So we know about Wakan, Waka, a sacred place. So we have this place right here in Guatemala. It's an archaeological site, a city called El Peru. Wak'a. It says here, in search of the lost empire of the Maya. Wak'a, El Peru. In about 656, King Jaguar throne. Again, King Jaguar in Wak'a, El Peru in Guatemala. A snake alley was laid to rest in this city-state. His tomb contained painted ceramic figurines, 4 to 9 inches tall, depicting a mythical ritual from the underworld. Again, underworld, Jaguar, right? The lord of the underworld. So regarding this figurines that was found in this tomb, I just want you to take a look at these ones right here. Look at the physical characteristics of these persons, especially the one on the left. Now, unless you're blind or you practice willful ignorance, this is a so-called Negro person. Just look at it. This is in Waca, El Peru. Alright, Negro people in Waca, Wakanda, Waca, sacred place. Ancient Mayans from Guatemala. So it's El Peru, also known as Waca. Same way that Waka, right? In Peru with the H, but it's pronounced Waca, W-A-K-A, just like the site. So El Peru, also known as Waca, is a pre-Columbian Maya archaeological site occupied during the pre-classic and classic cultural chronology periods, roughly 500 BC to 800 AD. Dutch the chronology hijack. The site was the capital of Maya city-state and is located near the banks of the San Pedro River in the department of Petén of northern Guatemala. El Peru is 60 kilometers, 37 miles west of Tikal, another important Mayan city. So it's here that the etymology, the site was named El Peru when rediscovered in the 20th century. So it was named El Peru, that wasn't the name. Hieroglyphics identified and deciphered at the site have indicated that the ancient name for the site was Waca. So it was called Waca, not El Peru, but they must have seen a similarity with the Huacas, right, of Peru. When they found Wakan, they called it El Peru, maybe. Or maybe they're related, that they were related, these civilizations. While both names are currently used interchangeably, El Peru predominates on extant maps. In the published literature, a conflated name is generally used, El Peru Waca. So the indigenous people of this city called it Waca. So this was obviously a sacred place because we know what Waca means. Wakan, Wakanda, supernatural, sacred, omnipresent. So this is what the place used to look like, according to the tour guides there. This is from the actual archaeological park there. And most of it today is still covered up, you know, with vegetation and dirt. A lot of the pyramids and mounds, they're covered up. They're not even dug up. I watched the video, and the only parts that it was actually dug up was most of it was from looters, which have been coming in and looting all these pyramids, and then they recover them back, and they haven't been unburied. They're still there. Why they don't unbury this site? Why don't they show us all this stuff? I don't know. What is in here? I mean, the discovery and the release of information for the site is recent, right? And this is not known to many people, right? Again, El Peru Waca, a sacred place, Waca. So we see the vibration that Wakanda, this word, carries in Native American culture and tradition, right? Basically, God or the Creator. Hawa, Wakan, Hawa, that Wa, right? But regarding a real location, you know, we know in the movie it's a fictional place, but as if you just do a little searching, you'll see that if you search for any locations called Wakanda, you'll see that it'll pop up in the Americas, mostly in North America. Alright? So I just wanted to go ahead and correlate a little bit with this as well and talk about specific places named Wakanda. So first I wanted to talk about this place called Wakanda Springs in Glen Elder, Kansas. And these are the facts and legends, supposedly. And it says here, fact. Based on fact and legend, Wakanda Lake inherited its name from a prominent historical site called Wakanda Springs, which was located about halfway between Glen Elder and Cocker City, 3/4 of a mile south of Old US Highway 24. So this is fact. The mineral springs was an interesting phenomena on the plains of north-central Kansas. Its pool basin was set in a 300-foot wide mound, rising 40 feet above the surrounding Solomon River Valley. Alright, so this spring was on a mound, right? As you can see, you know, is this an ancient tree? And also says surrounding the Solomon River Valley. Solomon River Valley. Again, you know, we know that Solomon is the son of King David. We are linking King David up with Prester John. And Prester John had in his land a mythical fountain of youth, right, or a spring. Wakanda Springs. So this is right next to Solomon River Valley. Alright. The spring's pool was 50 feet in diameter and 15 feet deep. Although there's a myth that the pool was bottomless, the water contained calcium, magnesium, iron, silica, sodium chloride, sulfate, and bicarbonate. Geologists thought that the mound was formed by the deposits of minerals forced up by artesian pressure in the water. The mineral springs around which the legend evolved was once a ceremonial gathering place sacred to all the plains Indians. Again, this mineral springs, Wakanda, was a sacred gathering place, a ceremonial place, a waka, Wakanda, waka, a monument. Remember, waka could be a monument. piece of stone, sacred, a place. Later it became a health resort for the white man until Lake Waconda covered the site. Yes, Lake Wakanda covered the site. This is underwater now.
Remember, Pastor John had a fountain of youth. Pastor John is King David, his son is Solomon. This spring which heals, a sacred place, Wakanda, where the tribes gathered in the Solomon River Valley. Again, we got the Solomon River Valley next to Wakanda Springs, which is now Wakanda Lake. And in this map of the fictional Wakanda from Black Panther, right, we see this lake, right? And it's called Twisted Visions Lake. They got your vision twisted because you're looking at the wrong side. Twisted Visions Lake, you get it? Right under it, as you can see, I'm assuming it says King Solomon's Mines. Did you think there was anything related to King Solomon and Black Panther? And over to the left here, we have a river, and it's called River of Grace and Wisdom. Who is known to have a lot of wisdom and grace? Solomon, right? Solomon was wise. So Wakanda Springs, right? We got the Solomon River. Now, one more thing I just want to highlight is, you can decide whether it's coincidence or not. I was looking at Lake Wakanda, Google Maps, right? As you can see, it looks very similar to this lake in the fictional Wakanda, which is Twisted Visions Lake. As you can see, it has here in the bottom, right, the Piranha Cove, and you can see Wakanda Lake kind of sticks out there as well. And a river that goes up, the Grace and Wisdom River, or the Solomon Forks of the Solomon River. It's very similar. And they hijacking something and creating a fairy tale. You tell me. So again, Wakanda Springs, or Great Spirit Springs, was a natural artesian spring located in Mitchell County near the towns of Glen Elder and Cocker City in the U.S. state of Kansas. It was a sacred site for Native American tribes of the Great Plains, and for a time became the site of a health spa for American settlers. With the completion of the Glen Elder Dam in 1968, the mineral springs disappeared beneath the waters of Wakanda Reservoir. And again, here is the drawing of Wakanda Springs from 1873. As you can see, it looks like the stump of a tree, this mound, where water comes out of it. Wakanda Springs was situated on the bank of the Solomon River. Again, Solomon River, below the north and south forks of the river. The water flowing from the spring had deposited a large cone of travertine around it. In 1866, surveyor David E. Ballard described it. The spring itself is a natural curiosity, it being located on the summit of a cone-shaped limestone rock. So it's on the summit of a cone-shaped limestone rock. So this is a waka, sacred place, monument. The rock is circular, about 200 feet in diameter at the base and about 30 feet high. Upon the summit of this rests the spring, the basin being circular and about 30 feet in diameter. Its outlet is a trough apparently formed by the action of the water upon the rock. The water in the spring is about 20 feet deep and exceedingly strong with salt. The name Wakanda is from the Kansa language and translates as spirit water or great spirit spring. Alright, so like this knowledge, right? The spirit water. This is the healing, that pure water. You see Wakanda, that spirit water. Are you receiving that spirit water? That fresh, pure water from the Great Spirit. However, it is located in territory controlled by the Pawnee, who knew it by the names Pahoa, Pahoa, Pahawa. Remember, I've been saying Hawa. Here you go. Pahoa. Wakanda, another name, Pahoa. And Kitsawitsuk, the later translated as water on a bank. In the Pawnee tradition religion, the supreme being, Tirawa, Hawa, allots supernatural powers to certain animals. Okay, so supernatural powers to certain animals. Jaguar, Panther, Jaguar warrior, Black Panther Marvel. These animals, the Nahurak, act as Tirawa's servants and messengers, and intercede for the Pawnee with Tirawa.
The Nahurak had 5 lodges, of which Wakanda Springs was one. Alright, so you can see that the Pawnee held Wakanda very sacredly. Alright, it was a waka for them, Wakanda. Alright, one of their Nahuraks, one of their lodges. Alright, again, this was a place where Great Plain Indian tribes gathered. Alright, Kansas Senator Samuel C. Pomeroy toured the region in 1870 and marveled at what he saw. Said Pomeroy, "At first I declared it the crater of an ancient volcano. The water occupying its hollow center is phantomless and about 200 feet in diameter and a perfect circle," with an exclamation. "It is always brimming full and running over on all sides. The hills about it were as sacred to the Indians as those about Jerusalem." Okay? Again, the hills about it in this spring called Wakanda Spring, this Waca, Wakanda, the great spirit water, says these hills about it were as sacred to the Indians as those about Jerusalem. You see what they covered up? A sacred Huaca place that was yours. An ancient place you considered as holy, as sacred as Jerusalem, Perusalem. So not only was just this a sacred place, this water, this mineral water, right, healed. So it says that the Indians believed the water to have healing powers. Practically every Indian tribe visited the site at one time or another, including the Pawnee, Wichita, Ka, Kiowa, Sioux, the Arapaho, the Comanche, the Miami, the Crow, and others. The Cheyenne and the Arapaho were the last tribes who roamed the plains around the springs and the Solomon River Valley. Right, all these tribes in the Solomon River Valley. A neutral area where all Indians would come to worship the Great Spirit on their annual migration with the buffalo herds. Alright, so this was an annual place where the Indians would come and worship Wakanda, the Great Spirit, and receive that spirit water, that pure water, and heal, fountain of youth. In 1906, Dr. G.P. Abrahams, who had operated a bathhouse at Mankato, Kansas for many years, purchased the property from McWilliams. Abrahams was well acquainted with the extraordinary qualities and advantages of the Great Spirit Spring. The water had won a medal for mineral waters of superior medicinal qualities at the 1904 St. Louis Fair. So you hear that? It won a medal because it was healing. You drank this water, you healed. Alright? There are several legends surrounding the Great Spirit Spring. However, the following is probably the most true. Wakanda was the beautiful daughter of an Indian chief, so Wakanda. From the beginning, the elders of the tribe knew it was unwise for the chief to name his daughter after a god, which is what they considered the spring to be, a waka, sacred monument place. As Wakanda grew older, she liked to wander the countryside. One day she came upon an injured warrior. After a short conversation, they realized they were from enemy tribes. But that did not stop Wakanda from nursing him back to health. The warrior's name was Takota, the son of the opposing chief. Eventually he regained his strength and went to Wakanda's father to ask for her hand in marriage. Harsh words were spoken and a battle was fought around the springs. Takota was standing near the edge of the spring when one warrior of Wakanda's father shot an arrow that hit Takota. Mortally wounded, he fell into the spring as he died. Heartbroken, Wakanda dove into the water after him, calling to the gods to give back her lover. She never resurfaced. The warriors drew back in awe, and to this day it is believed that the spirit of Wakanda dwelled in the spring, and perhaps even still in this place of its namesake, Wakanda Lake.
So again, this word, this vibration, Wakanda, has much influence in North American traditions, Native American traditions, and also names of places, as you can see. It's all over the place. Wakanda, it says, a term used by Native Americans of the Omaha people and the Osage Nation when praying, and also applied by them to objects or phenomena regarded as sacred or mysterious. Again, Waka. And as you can see, if you can go ahead and Google, you'll see Wakanda pops up all over North America. And, because there's a history behind that. Everything has a foundation and an origin, right? So it says here, Wakanda State Park. Wakanda State Park is a public recreation area covering 1,054 acres near LaGrange in Lewis County, Missouri. The state park features water recreation on 6 small lakes, and I wonder if these lakes, if some of them are man-made. I was trying to dig on that, but who knows? Most likely, they like to cover up stuff and build dams and cover up stuff. Because they also have a Wakanda Lake in Wakanda State Park. It says this park was established in 1960 on 273 acres, transferred from the Missouri Highway Commission. Its name, Waconda, was taken from the Osage Indian word meaning something consecrated or spiritual. Further land purchases by the state included a 777-acre tract added to the park in 1992. Those numbers 777. Alright, so again, as you can see, more correlation of what Wakanda means. And now I want to talk to you about Wakanda Park mounds. This is in Wisconsin, Wakanda Park. I'll read it to you. It says, located in Wakanda Park in Menominee on the shores of Lake Menominee. This group is what's left of once large cluster of mounds that were submerged when the Lake Menominee was created by damming the Red Cedar River. So these mounds were submerged. They're underwater now, just like Wakanda Springs. Out of 17 submerged mounds, 14 were excavated by archaeologists. Some of the mounds contain burials, including an individual wearing clay mask. I wonder if that was a Jaguar or Panther mask. The feature found in only 2 other mound sites in Wisconsin. Scenes of yesteryear digging those Indian mounds. This is a photograph of a section of the Indian burial mound group in Wakanda Park. Within a week after this picture was snapped, all but 3 of the 17 mounds had been hastily investigated and destroyed. A Guide to Archaeology Parks of the Upper Midwest by Deborah Morse Kahn. It says here, Wakanda Park. 3 large oval mounds, known as the Upper Wakanda Mound Group, can be found in traditional placement on the terraced ridge above Lake Menominee, a widening in the Red Cedar River that forms the heart of this small city. An additional 17 mounds were once located below this ridge, but 1950s dam construction flooded them out. Excavation prior to flooding indicated a radiocarbon date to sometime between 1000 and 1400 AD. The headquarters of the Dunn County Historical Society is located in the park. This is in Wakanda Park, right? Pine Street at Lake Menominee. So as you can see, they have a habit of creating these dams and flooding these wakas, these sacred Native American places. Wakanda, Wakan, the creator, supernatural, sacred, Wak'a, holy. It says here, now I know this isn't the Wakanda from the comics, but at least you know the origin of the name. Just like the origin of the name Black Panther comes from the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, LFCO, also known as the Black Panther Party, created by Stokely Carmichael in Alabama in 1965, using the Black Panther as its logo. Yes, it started in Alabama, not California, in 1965. What is the significance about this? Well, the Black Panther character from Marvel, well, as it says here, it says it's a fictional superhero appearing in American comic books published by the Marvel Comics. The character was created by writer-editor Stan Lee and writer-artist Jack Kirby, first appearing in Fantastic Four issue number 52, cover dated July 1966, a year later, right, that the group in Alabama, the Black Panther Party, was formed. A year later, right? So returning to the founding of the Black Panther Party in Alabama, it says here, beginning in 1965, Nelson joined scores of fellow black Lundy's County residents and attended mass meetings at Mount Gillard Baptist Church off US Route 80. The house of worship was a natural gathering place for the local African American community, and it doubled as a way to skirt a draconian injunction that barred more than two black people from speaking together in a public place. Within the relatively safe confines of that humble country church, they absorbed lessons about the goals of the struggle for equal rights and how to organize for change, delivered via speeches by black civil rights leaders like Stokely Carmichael and Huey Newton. Today, these giants of civil rights history are remembered as two of the founding fathers of the Black Panther Party, which many believe originated in Oakland, California in October 1966. But the true roots of the Black Panther Party go back to the poor, rural county Nelson has called home her entire life. And again, so Black Panther Party started in 1965 in Alabama, 1 year before Black Panther character was created and came out in Marvel. So, I mean, I went to their website, and regarding the Panther God bats we talked about earlier in the video, they don't even hide it, man. I mean, this image right here they put on top of all these Marvel comic books in the background looks just like, almost just like the old Black Panther Party logo, as you can see. So, you know, they're playing games, but you gotta understand now your history, and that all these stories, all these fables, all these Hollywood productions are about you.